Okay, so here's what happened to me yesterday. I was in a stressful emotional state for a variety of reasons, and I tried so hard to let that go, and I couldn't let it go most of the day. I think because I couldn't deal with the stressors; they weren't things that were resolvable. Um, and last night I started to get some clarity, so maybe I did let it go. Kind of once I got through all the stressful stuff, I started to let it go. Not that I feel like I handled anything badly yesterday. Like I didn't like my day, I didn't feel successful about my day, but I did at least feel like I was nice to everyone, even when somebody did something that was, I don't want to say rude, but they pushed a button in me. I handled that fairly well too. I think it was clear that I was exasperated, but I have to remember it's okay to share my emotions or to demonstrate emotions because I wasn't having my feeling of frustration in that moment wasn't out of line with the situation. And in fact, I realized this morning that I was probably being pretty patient, especially because the situation feels a lot bigger to me than probably what people realize. So here is the deal so last night I started to just kind of feel better and let go of some things. I cleared up. I made a big decision yesterday, and I have bad feelings about the decision, about why I have to do it, and I'm worried about the decision for a bunch of reasons. But also it felt like taking a little bit of a rock. I don't know. I think it's not even taking a rock out. It was more like letting go of something that I've been hanging on to for a really long time. And the whole thing really brought up for me something that I already knew, which is that sometimes when I get to these points where I'm really, really stressed out, it brings to the surface other things that I've been feeling all along. So, yeah, for example, my chief source of stress, well, I'm not going to, actually, my chief source of stress yesterday was having two different people ask something of me that I didn't want to do, like violate a boundary and make my day harder. And I allowed that to happen. I didn't stand up for myself. And I was frustrated and annoyed. And one of those people was totally unaware, and the other one I think was, I didn't snap at her. I tried to explain to her that I'd already been waiting for an hour and 15 minutes, and for her to ask me to keep waiting was pretty frustrating. I ended up waiting for an hour and 50 minutes to be able to do what I wanted to do because the second person now, and I told the second person, I said, it's not your fault that I've already been waiting for an hour and 15 minutes. You didn't know that I've been waiting an hour and 15 minutes, but I'd actually been on the property waiting longer than she'd even been there. I started waiting before they ever even drove down the driveway, so she couldn't know that, and I told her that. I'm sure she heard the frustration in my voice. I hope she understood that it was only 40% directed at her. But I also realized that part of my frustration is ongoing. I have a deep resentment. It builds and builds and builds about this exact behavior. I feel like there's no space for me. And I felt, if I say that out loud, I realize I've felt like that for 3 years out there. I feel like there's no place for me. I feel like, and when I get to this point where what really wells up inside of me, I want to cry. And I think it's just that when I get hormonal or stressed out, I can't not feel those feelings. So the other good portion of the time, I just shove them under a rug somewhere and bury them. And then when I get to a point where I can't not feel it anymore, then it pops out of me like this, and I feel like shit, which is what happened yesterday. And I just kind of thought to myself, I am feeling rash right now, but also this resentment keeps staying here because I'm not dealing with the problem and because nobody else is changing. In fact, I'm not going to say it's getting worse. It's just that over time, it's not like yesterday was the first time. I bet 3 days a week, I find myself in a similar position. Yesterday was more frustrating than normal because it was a much longer wait than usual. So anyway, I have a lot of resentment and frustration about that situation, and I think yesterday I just decided I was done with it. There's certain things that I can't change, and so I have to make a different change for that. But it highlighted something in me, which is that I build up a lot of resentment about a lot of things. I keep my mouth shut because I want to play nice, and I want everybody to like me, and I don't want to be seen as the bitch because I do think I am seen as the bitch. It doesn't matter what I do, just like it doesn't matter what horse I bring home is going to be wrong. I'm seen as the bitch. I'm seen as the person who thinks they're the queen bee. So anytime I say, hey, that's not okay with me, people are going to think that I'm being the queen bee, when really I'm just trying to stand up for myself. And that applies in this situation hugely, but I think it's also true like in my teaching. I mean, over and over and over again, I keep trying to set boundaries for these students, and then you'll get the 20%, 15, 20% that violate. And finally, I will have enough. There will come a point where I have enough, and I'm just like, no, this is how it is. And I actually had to have a conversation with a student like that this morning. This student has tried to move their speech, every single speech. They're never ready on time. They're a nice person. And actually, I could say that, I don't want to pin it all on this one particular student, because I could say that about several students, that they constantly do this. And we're at the end of the semester. I've been prepping them for 2 weeks that it's do it or don't do it. But if you don't do it, you fail. There's no other opportunities left. You can't just keep pushing it back. And so I had to get pretty clear with a couple people. I was like, there's just what you're missing is you're out of options. This is your last option. So if you don't opt into your last option, you're done. I flat out told one of them, I was like, I don't think you're even understanding. This isn't a me thing. This is just the semester's over. You got to give your speech or you're not giving your speech. If you don't give your speech, you're not passing the class. And so anyway, it's really hard for me to draw those clear lines with them too. And I see that as the same behavior. And I build up a lot of resentment. See, that's the thing. I have a lot of resentment against those people because I feel like they're not respecting my time. And I think to a point they aren't. Sure, they have their own bullshit, but they also aren't respectful of their instructor's time, at least not on my time. So I'm just really struggling with that right now. And as much as I disliked yesterday, I hope that I can use that as a reminder that one, you're always going to have a hard day once in a while, and hopefully today is better. And two, that some of these resentments that I've been building up and hanging on to, like especially this one at the barn, that's something that's got to change. I actually realize as I'm talking, I have been trying to change myself and get okay with the resentment and get okay with being treated the way I've been treated, and it's not helping. I still feel bad. I still feel bullied. I still feel like nobody has any respect for me. All of those things seem really true to me, to be honest. I don't mind waiting for one person, but to have to wait for two other people to go in there first was pretty rude. And I've allowed that behavior because the one time I stood up for myself when my horse was literally rearing and unleadable, it created a big drama. It created that it's never been fixed. And so I just came to, and I have had this feeling for years out there that place is no longer, there's no space for me there. And I think I've known this for a while, that I've had a really hard time adjusting. That place kind of used to be my space, and Catherine was easy to share with. Fuck, we got along really good. There's not really been anybody else to have to share with, really. And I've been trying to be better about sharing. Problem is that the being better about sharing is only coming from my side. It's not coming from anybody else's side. So, I think that's just it. There's just no space for me to exist out there. And I was thinking about this a little bit yesterday. I think part of the issue is that that's kind of trainers, when you put two trainers at the same facility, there's always problems. And I always tell myself I'm not a trainer, so I'm not a problem. I think what's shifted in the last 8 months is that my behavior is more and more like a horse trainer, even though I don't take on clients. And I think that is the root of the issue in some sense, is that there's two trainers out there right now, and we get along on a surface level, but we can't share space. Because what happens is that she always gets the space because it's her job, which means that I never get the space. I have to wait for her to get done, which is really fucked up if you think about it. Part of the problem yesterday was I waited for almost 2 hours for her to do her job, and then I still had to go back to work. That was part of why it was so frustrating, was I waited all this time. I had this very narrow window of what I needed to do, and I still had to go back to work. So it affected my job too, and I don't like that. and I don't like the insinuation that my time isn't as valuable as hers. See, I think, look, those are the same thing if you think about it. My students and this exact same thing. It wasn't so much the waiting, it was that my time is valuable and people are fucking wasting it. I don't like that. And clearly I have allowed people over and over again to take that away from me, and something's got to change. So that's why I decided that the first chance I get, I have to move those horses. I'm not going to like it. It's going to be a rough adjustment, but I can't. I need to be in a facility. Either she's got to go or I've got to go. That's kind of the choice. I'd be happy if she left, but I don't think that will happen. The thing is I like her, and I rely on her to a certain degree, but I can't share space with her anymore as much as I would like to be able to. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and it's not working. And as stressed out and as resentful and as angry as I was yesterday, and as hyperbolic as maybe my emotions might have been, the thing is, the underlying part was the truth, which is that I have a lot of frustration and resentment about the way people treat me, about the disrespect of my time and my energy, and about being made to feel like I'm not as important as everyone else. So that's something that's got to change. And I've been trying to work it out other ways, and it's not helping. And nothing. In fact, some of those ways have maybe made things worse. Or maybe it's not worse, it's just that it's dragged on over time. All right, I had a lot to say. This was a long video.